and the world kept revolving. How cool. Life went on. Things got done. I learned to delegate. I learned to let my kids do more things for themselves or for me. And so there was a lesson there too in balance and self-care. I just keep forgetting it when I'm doing things I really love. Oops.
Cue music. Places, everybody, places. We're starting in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Autoimmune Hour, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. I've brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted.
Thank you for joining us here on the Autoimmune Hour with Sharon Saylor. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio. Join the Autoimmune Hour's Courage Club. Sign up now at understandingautoimmune.com. Now, back to your host, Sharon Saylor.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com, and as always, it's my honor and pleasure to be with you here on another brand new episode. I've got a dear friend joining us because I recently read an article she wrote and a YouTube that she did on her 1-year anniversary of a catastrophic accident and all the learnings that she had in this year. And I thought, yes, hopefully none of us have had an equally catastrophic event, but a lot of them applied to me and some of the learnings I learned during my healing and remission of my autoimmune condition. So let's join in really quick. I've got my cup of tea here. I'm going to enjoy it. Really good. It's chai tea with oat milk tonight. It's really good. Look at this mug. Isn't it cute? You know what? It's really cute. I had some friends send it to me. Actually sent me a set. And I think they're so cute. But I don't know. This is just so interesting. This is one of those that's hollow inside. I don't know if you guys have seen those. I missed the tactile thing of the hot tea mug. Isn't that funny? I love the mug. My tea tastes the same. I love that. But I was like, it's so safe to hold. I don't know. Is that a safety thing or just a childhood thing of feeling like a nice hot mug of tea? Anyway, I digress there. Hey, Liberty, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being on the show. I want to read your bio first because I know you, but maybe some of our people are new here and haven't been familiar with our ongoing chats about every 6 months. And Liberty Forrest is an award-winning author, speaker, and contributor to numerous informational publications, including Huffington Post, and she's a senior contributor to Sports Ed TV. And she's a lover of really dumb jokes and the creator of the wonderful Witchy cartoons. If you have a chance to find those, that's great. In fact, Witchy has a brand new journal coming up for the holidays and getting your year off right. We'll talk to Liberty about that because I love that. Anyway, on her YouTube channel is just at Liberty Forrest with 2 R's, Liberty Forrest. And you can find that. And you can see the YouTube that I'm talking about that's on this conversation we're going to have. Hey, Liberty, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me here again. And it's always a pleasure. And I'm with you on the mug thing. It is really cute. I love the shape.
Yeah, it's a great, and it's a great size for the hands.
Do my head in, I think, where my mouth is going, oh, this is hot, but my hands are going, what? I got a nice cold mug of water here. I can feel how cold that is. I like that.
Yeah, I think that was a thing. I heat it up. I'm not quite sure how hot it is until my lip gets within scalding distance, maybe. I love my friends and I. It's a beautiful set of mugs. I love them. But it's just going to take a little get used to. I think it's a cool idea that you can't burn your hands on your mug.
Yep. I like that idea, to be honest, but it would feel a little bit disconcerting.
The things we get used to. I know. And hey, what a weird segue that is into our conversation about the things we get used to. And then you had this catastrophic accident just a year ago, and the things you got used to, you couldn't do anymore. Let's back up and just share a little bit. We don't have to get too graphic. We'll just say the word catastrophic, but share with the audience and then now give them some perspective and backstory on why you had such an incredible year of learning.
First of all, I just have to say it's interesting you would call it catastrophic because I wouldn't. I guess it probably was in terms of how it affected me, but that feels to me like a building blew up or something.
The
Yeah,
X-ray
that
should come with a fair warning label, a trigger warning label.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was a little slip on the ice. Got to be careful. Slipped on the ice, tore the quadriceps off the bone, and shattered my kneecap into pieces. And 13 months later, I'm still learning how to walk again. I guess that was catastrophic. Aside from the physical pain, that part was really not pleasant. But it has been a really interesting time of observation. And even when I was going through that part in the first 6 to 8 months, I was really noticing how adaptable I am. I always knew I was anyway. My life has been filled with a lot of change and I'm very adaptable, but it was in ways I never had to think about before. I'm shuffling across a very large expanse of a room with a walker and I drop something and I'm in a full leg brace that's really heavy and awkward and I can't really bend. I can't bend my leg and I've dropped a thing and I'm feeling like I'm miles away from anything I could sit on. And what do? How do I pick it up? So what I did was I was a pen first time that happened. I dropped a pen. How am I going to pick up a pen like that? I ended up using the leg of the walker, or the foot, whatever, and I just kept pushing the pencil across, way across this expansive floor. It probably took me 3 days to get back to the couch. Or I had a little kitchen area and I was staying with a friend when this happened. And I had to get from this little kitchen bar in the basement to where there was a couch. I needed both hands for the walker. How am I going to carry a plate of hot food? Or especially something like a bowl of soup. I couldn't eat stuff like that for the longest time. It was only sort of sandwiches and cold things. It was interesting to watch these normal things that you don't think about and trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? Or I couldn't carry a hot drink for the longest time. And then I went, if I put the hot drink on the top of the bar and then I shuffle around the bar and then I pull a bar stool kind of partway between the bar and a coffee table, I can get it from the bar to the stool, shuffle to the stool, pick it up from there, put it on the corner of the coffee table, shuffle, put it on the other corner of the coffee table, shuffle, move it closer to the couch. Yeah, it was a real interesting year of learning how to do very simple, everyday, normal things. And I'll tell you, it really, I've had health issues before and developed an appreciation for having a healthy body, as I know you have. But I never had to think about those kinds of things. And it really made me appreciate my body and my abilities and having an able body in a whole different way through this whole year. Not to mention the other kinds of learning, but just observing all these little things, little ways I had to adapt in my life so I could just get through each day and keep myself fed.
I'm laughing because I talked to you during this time, obviously, remember some of those stories. And yet it is something that oftentimes, even my health, when I first got my diagnosis for years, I don't want to say I took my health for granted because I tried to be healthy. I tried to do a lot of healthy things. But gosh, when you get a major diagnosis and there's a major period of recovery, it does put things into perspective. And one of them that you mentioned here was a whole new appreciation of things. And I think I can agree with you on that one as far as during my recovery, a whole new appreciation of things and a shifting of what was important to me.
Oh yeah, there were so many things that became milestones. I hope this one isn't TMI, but even putting on my own knickers took several weeks. I had to get a friend to help me. No friend should have to do that, but I couldn't. I couldn't bend my knee. I couldn't try to do that when you can't have a straight leg. It doesn't work. I couldn't have a bath for 6 months or a shower. Sponge bathing. Yeah, how often do you just get in the shower, get in a bath, and don't think about it? And it's still a bit of a production 13 months later, but at least I can get in and out carefully. But yeah, all these little things so that they became my milestones. Like, when I can just do this, when I could just figure out when I could finally figure out how to carry hot food, I have these kind of flat bowls. They're almost like a plate bowl thing. And if I put it in a Ziploc bag and then in a flat bottomed Walmart bag and carried it as carefully as I could with my walker so it didn't slosh too much. I couldn't do it with soup, but I could do it with things like hot meals. I could actually have a hot meal again, but it was just that they were my milestones. And it helped me to stay positive, I think, instead of just thinking I'm stuck. I can't ever do these things again. I was always looking for the next thing. I'll figure that out. Or I can hardly wait till I can. And when I could wash my hair by myself, um, it was about 8 months before I could do stairs by myself, sort of. All those milestones really helped me to stay positive and got me through it.
Now, you're a positive person to begin with. So, as long as I've known you, and that's been a long time, you're a positive person to get through it. I think I am too, but I'm thinking back, especially with my diagnosis, which was 8 years ago. There were times that it was really hard to stay positive and not fall into the woe-is-me types of issues and things that were going on for me. Any tips for people that you experience that can keep you going in the right way, even during those moments where you're like, this sucks, I am done. I am so over this.
I did have those, especially in the first like 4 or 5 months that were extremely painful, and I didn't sleep much because of it. I was so exhausted. And sometimes I would just cry because I was so tired. And all I could do, that's what got me through a lot of things, was just visualizing, trusting that this is temporary. I will get past this. I will get over this. I just had to keep telling myself that no matter how bad it got, even when I was sitting there in tears of frustration and pain, I still had to just keep saying it's just temporary. It felt like it was going to be forever because the progress was so slow. I couldn't see week by week that I was getting better. It was more like a month and I could see a little change. So it was really hard to feel like I'm making any progress and getting better. But I just had to keep saying, I'm getting better every day. I'm one day closer to being on the other side of this. Every day is another day behind me. And that was what got me through it. Even when I was sometimes saying that through tears, that was what did it. The main thing. And then the other thing I was just mentioning about looking for those little milestones, little markers where I could say, I am better because now I can do this when I couldn't do that last week or 3 weeks ago or 6 months ago or whatever. And there've been a lot of them. Taking out my rubbish for the first time or doing my own laundry for the first time because I had to go downstairs and all those things. You just have to look for something that's like moving that boundary. Oh, my life has expanded now out to here. That gave me a lot of hope and a lot of energy every time I hit one of those. It's like,
I want to say one of the things I think is important is to celebrate with your friends those milestones, whether it's getting a text or a little email or whatever it is, even a little smiley face or a thumbs up and I did it, whatever. Is having those opportunities to have celebrations, especially beyond your own self celebrating. Yay, I did it. Having opportunities to, I know it's an external validation, guys. I understand that community, but sometimes we need that.
I didn't think about that. I didn't really do a lot of that at the time because I wasn't really communicating with people because I didn't have the energy. So I just didn't think to do that mostly. But now that you mention it, yeah, once I was well enough to start doing some of that and reconnecting a little bit, yeah, that was nice to be able to say to somebody, yay, I can do this now. I put on my own knickers. Whatever.
Just your special friends, you tell that. Now, I loved your YouTube where you talked about it being 1 year and you shared a bunch of other ideas. What were some of your favorites from your YouTube?
Oh boy. Okay, here's a big one. And some people think this is just a load of hooey, but I really totally believe in this after years of experience with noticing it. Anyway, that would be that for a long period of time, I had been saying, oh, please, I really need a break. Man, I could use a break. I really need a break. Please, could I have a break? I really got one when my kneecap was all over my leg. And I meant a rest. I meant a little time out where I could just, and this is the other, because part 2 of that was saying, I would really love a long period of time where I can do absolutely nothing. Ooh, can do nothing. Exactly. I could do nothing. What I meant was a long period of time where I could do whatever I want, but where I can do nothing, as in couldn't do anything. That's exactly what I got. 13 months later, I still can't do a lot of things. I can do a lot of things too, so I'm glad about that. But yeah, it took me a few months before that slammed me upside the head with, honey, you got exactly what you asked for. The universe always delivers. If you say it often enough and with enough emotion, we're just big old magnets and we're sending out that vibration. Bring me this. Like I remember being, starting from when I was a divorced single parent as a teen. Good grief. And I really needed a lot of patience. And I kept pleading for patience. I need patience. I need patience. Please, can I have patience? I probably should have stopped asking for that because I kept getting situations that required patience.
Oh,
But
fascinating.
also,
I hadn't seen that parallel. Okay. That's
yeah,
interesting.
like I was inviting situations where I had to practice it. And also, eventually, I became a homeopath. And when my practice was thriving, I had loads of patience with a T. It has a sense of humor, or maybe it doesn't spell well. I don't know. But
Wait, no, what's fascinating to me though is how many times we say things like that in our mind are just blowing off steam and whether they actually manifest or not. I know you don't have to believe in the law of attraction to have it happen. I guess I'm on the fence about the law of attraction. I've always been, I don't know. And just, I don't know. Part of me doesn't want to challenge it though and try and find out if it's true or not by using it. But I've always said, being careful what you say. It's important to keep your mind and your unconscious mind clear of a lot of the negativities. If
oh,
you complain about family members or friends or the weather or whatever, it just seems to magnify oftentimes.
yeah. And as a homeopath, one of the things that we look for is a relationship between what a person says, the language that they use, and the symptoms that they have. As one very basic example, they might be talking a lot about feeling, maybe they have a headache that feels like pressure on the head, or they have a thing in the neck, it feels like pressure on the neck. Their symptoms are a feeling of pressure or tightness or restriction. Meanwhile, they're telling you about their life situation and they're saying, I feel all this pressure at work and pressure at home and I feel restricted and blah, 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 like this. So there's this, so the body will manifest even just from a physiological standpoint because the brain is setting up all these chemical messengers. And whatever you are thinking, your body's going to send, or your brain will send these chemical messengers to your body and it will get the message and presto. That's a whole other topic, but there is that to consider as well. So there is a response. There can be a very direct physical response for the things that we say. Got to
One
be
of my
careful with our words.
Yeah, be careful with our
I
words
like
for
I'm saying
sure.
things like, "Oh, my head is killing me." I'm always like, "Don't say stuff like that."
Absolutely. On a less dramatic level than that, though, I remember one time saying, I can't sleep, I can't sleep, I can't sleep. And sure enough, I couldn't sleep. And I noticed even if I would sleep for a short period of time, I'd wake up and my brain would just be going, why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? Why? Instead of saying, breathe or telling myself affirmations or telling myself to be calm or whatever it was, or I'm safe, whatever the question was. But I kept noticing that until I changed the language around how I sleep, or even telling people during the day, oh, I'm tired, I can't sleep. And then somehow that manifested into just getting really spotty sleep and understanding that, okay, it wasn't until I changed how I talked about how I sleep that my sleep began to settle down.
The subconscious is always listening. And as a hypnotist, I know that too. It pays attention and it doesn't hear negatives. So if you say things like, I would have to be careful if I was trying to help somebody stop smoking, I couldn't say you won't want to smoke because all the subconscious would hear is you want to smoke. So you have to put it in the positive. And so for this with I can't sleep, or it's always about focusing on that. Your subconscious is listening. It's important to be focusing more on, I am relaxed. I am sleeping. and try to put things in a more positive way, because the body does respond, which also helps your healing, whatever the situation is that you're experiencing.
And that's one thing we have to be careful of, is what we say to ourselves, for sure. And innocently enough, too. Oftentimes, it's always fun to tell a story. And I noticed this, that sometimes people manifest based on the stories they tell their friends, whether it's I can't sleep, or my spouse, this or that, my kids, this or that. And it's interesting to me that by retelling the story, not just to myself, but out to the world, out to the friends, it expands itself. It's not just my internal dialogue, it's my external dialogue too.
You're so right. You really have to be careful what we say. Like they say, be careful what you wish for. I'll never again wish for a break.
A nice vacation on a nice beach or something. A nice sunny location on a beach or something. Being very careful what we say. We need to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Liberty some more about some of the learning she's had. So we'll be right back.
The Autoimmune Hour will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by understandingautoimmune.com to learn more.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance. Say hi, guys. When I adopted them, I discovered that they both have incredible personalities. Chance's sole purpose in life is to love and to be loved. Frankie is a little bit of a scoundrel and always entertaining. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star reader's favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm rambling, you say, thank you for listening. Join us at projectforgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com and UnderstandingAutoimmune.com. Of course, you can go over there and find the 400 plus episodes of the show that we have already. And tonight we're talking with my dear friend, Liberty Forrest. She is an award-winning author, speaker, and contributor to numerous informational groups like Huffington Post, and she's a senior contributor to Sports Ed TV, and she's also the wonderful creator of witchy cartoons, and she's a lover of really dumb jokes. So welcome back from the break, Liberty. First off, got a really dumb joke for us?
Why is Cinderella not allowed on the soccer team?
I have no idea. Glass slippers?
It's running away from the ball.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Okay, that's pretty bad.
It's great.
That's great. That's great. I'm thinking glass slipper, I'm thinking bare feet. I did not think that direction at all. So that's great. Running away from the ball. I did want to chat to you a little bit about some of your more learnings. And then I also want to have time for the wonderful journal that Witchy created for us. So let's talk about what's a couple other learnings that come to mind for you?
One of the biggest has been to do with slowing down and not trying to do 172 million things at the same time. Because typically I'm a really busy person and all my work is not work. All the things I do for work are things I love. It's all very creative and it's fun and it's easy to dive in. And this experience has taught me to slow down, find some balance. I just have not been able. I've been so exhausted. I couldn't. I tried to get back onto my YouTube channel, for example. I did a few and it was just pathetic because I'm thinking, oh, what am I doing? Because I'm thinking I'm recovering. I've got time, but no. So I thought I was getting the hang of it. I thought I was doing pretty well with self-care, balance, rest. And then I started feeling more creative again. Oh, I got a couple of brain cells firing. Yes, because they hadn't been for so long. And I was so excited and I want to play with Witchy again. And so, great, I'm going to get her podcast going and I'm going to get her back on YouTube and I'm going to do this and that and all these things. And then I had a major relapse of CRPS, which is this condition I can talk about in a second, but that came up as a result of this injury. And for the last 6 weeks or so, I have been grounded yet again, where I had finally reached a point where I could actually get across the street to the supermarket. After about 10 months, I was so excited. That was major freedom. And I did that about 3 or 4 times and then had this creative little flash and got a little too busy and oops. And then I had all kinds of pain again. And the universe or my body went, no, sit down, shut up, sleep. Yeah, that happened. I was reminded.
Let the audience know what CRPS is. I had heard of it. I think it's not talked about very much.
Really isn't. And I don't know how long this show will even be on Netflix, but there is a show called Take Care of Maya. It's about a little girl who has this condition, and it's shocking. Not so much about the condition, but the fact that there's so little known about it. Even the medical people, doctors don't know about it. But thankfully, I have a surgeon who's on it, and he diagnosed it. It means complex regional pain syndrome. There are 2 types. There's type 1, type 2. I have type 2, which happens with nerve damage. And this condition can come up with fracture, injury, surgery, trauma, or nerve damage. I had all 5. Lucky me. And they say it can be permanent. I choose to believe it will not be. Treatment is urgently needed. You have to do something to be on it, working with it best you can. But it's very little known and it can just flare up for no reason. It's a really bizarre thing because it can affect other limbs besides the injured one. It can affect all of your internal organs. It's like your whole being is affected. It's a nervous system thing where everything just goes weird. I have experienced a lot of really strange symptoms like allodynia, which is the sensation of pain from a really light touch, like even a feather. For me, it was a bed sheet. The slightest whisper of my bed sheet touching my leg would just send me through the roof. It felt like burning sandpaper. Or my yoga pants. I had to keep the yoga pants rolled way up on my leg because there was a lot of exposed skin in spite of wearing the leg brace for 4 months. And I would try to make a tent at night of the bed sheet so I could sleep. Didn't go very well. It's a very strange condition. And it can happen, I think, in about 1/3 of the cases with no particular injury or no known cause.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're doing better with it. It's wonderful that you've got a doctor, a surgeon who was on top of it too. We'll have to have people on to talk more about it. It just sounds horrific. I've had pain. I think all of us with autoimmune understand the concept of pain, but having it just crop up out of nowhere.
And they call it the suicide disease because it's considered the most painful condition a person can have. And there have been people who have actually ended their lives because they couldn't stand the pain.
Wow.
Yeah, it can be pretty bad. And like I said, not even just in your injured limb or joint, it can be elsewhere and organs, cardiovascular issues, digestive issues, kidney, urinary tract, all of your organs can be affected. It's just a peculiar thing. They don't really know why.
And then we have to think about it, though. The nervous system is all a connected circuit. So I guess in some physiological way, it makes sense that it could appear anywhere. What is that old thing? The shin
Leg
bone
bones.
connected to the knee bone thing. So
Yep. And another thing too, I think it's about a third-ish of the cases of CRPS, people have PTSD as well.
prior
Yeah.
to it or during it? I can see it causing PTSD for sure.
It certainly can cause it, but people who already had PTSD can have this happen with injury or I guess without as well.
Yeah, they're finding a strong correlation between traumas, past traumas, and autoimmune conditions as well. I love Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's work, The Body Keeps the Score. It's a great book, community, if you've never read it or researched his work. His name's Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And as I said, the name is The Body Keeps the Score. It's a great book that describes how past traumas get lodged or locked in our body and can play out in many different ails and ills and diagnoses. So it's slowly they're beginning to accept that the large play that it's not all in your head, that if you feel these strange pains and you're like, it shouldn't be happening. I love that finally now medical professionals talking about and giving it the respect it's due, that even if they like it shouldn't be happening, but it is, and acknowledging maybe we don't know, but at least acknowledging it is to me half the battle. Part of me got so frustrated in the early days of my diagnosis and just getting medical professionals to take the things that were happening to me that were not obvious, like my big rash, that was obvious, take it seriously, especially the side effects from the medication. I was like, that doesn't happen. It's happening whether it's the medication or not. I don't know. I'm not a pharmacist, but take it seriously that it's happening, please.
And that's been part of the problem with CRPS, that people don't know what it is, or they say it's all in your head or you're making it up. And it actually has been considered, at least by some, an autoimmune condition.
Certainly would play a part. I can think of numerous conditions like fibromyalgia, which are also pain throughout the body that is unclear on what was the catalyst for it. Now, obviously, you had a major trauma to your leg and your knee, so we can point to that as a catalyst. But oftentimes with many types of things like this in the autoimmune condition and the autoimmune world, we don't know the catalyst. Oh my goodness. Okay, CRPS. We'll have to do a show on that. I'm going to take notes on that and have more of a discussion about it because I find it fascinating and ways to help people come to terms with these kinds of things. Now, you did mention slowing down. How did you find the right balance? To me, there's a big difference between stopping completely and doing too much. Do you have any tips for people to find that moment, about that place of balance?
Yes, one really big one that I should know better. I should have known better. I know this, but did I listen? I did not listen. It's listening to your body. I was tired, but because I had been stuck doing nothing for so long, and I was so excited to be doing creative things again and having fun after just being laid out, and my days were just this blur of pain and recovery, and I was bored out of my mind. So when I started to feel better, I just wanted to get back to being who I was. And so I ignored the fact that I was tired and did things anyway. And because a lot of what I'm doing doesn't require being physical, so it wasn't like I was aggravating the pain in my leg. But then my body made sure that I was, because I was ignoring being tired and I wasn't getting proper rest, and body went, all right, then let's just make you hurt. Okay. So I was having more pain when I was sleeping. So it was affecting my sleep. So I got more tired. So I had to rest more. It's really the biggest tip is just listen to your body. If you're tired, rest. If something hurts, don't do that. I've had the reminder so many times now over the last several months. I'm really getting it about balance. And I remembered, oh, yeah, I used to study Italian. Oh, yeah, I used to play the piano. Oh, yeah, I used to write some music. Oh, I used to do a little art. Oh, I used to, all these things that I used to love and did. And for a long time before I hurt myself, I wasn't doing those things. I was just having too much fun doing witchy things and doing lots of writing. But I was ignoring these other things that were fun and soul food for me. And this has reminded me it doesn't have to be all the stuff that's work, even though it's fun and it's creative and I enjoy it. It's still with a work emphasis. And I was doing it to the exclusion of all these other things that I really love and that feed my soul. So I have been back to studying Italian and pulled out one of my Chopin music books, and I've been playing a little bit of Chopin and doing some of those things that I used to really love and have missed. And oh my goodness, it's just reminded me, oh yeah, there's more to life than just writing and playing with witchy. I need to also just do something else. Listen to your body and give yourself that time to do the things that you love.
Now, a little thing on my shoulder popped up and said, could almost hear certain, maybe moms or something like that going, oh, if only. However, my comment to that is, if your body runs out and says, it has a flare, whatever it does, and it says, okay, that's it, you need to rest, that recovery can be far more dramatic and long-term than it is then balancing and taking care of yourself as well as other things in your world. But putting yourself first is not selfish, because if you end up in bed, unable to do anything, how is anything going to get done? So just understanding that self-care is not an act of selfishness. It's actually an act of kindness to yourself and your loved ones.
Absolutely true. And I was a single parent with 5 kids and ill health at the time. So I know what that's like to juggle and feel like you just can't stop. But again, health issues, serious health issues back then just derailed me. And I did not have a choice but to stop. And the world kept revolving. How cool. Life went on. Things got done. I learned to delegate. I learned to let my kids do more things for themselves or for me. And so there was a lesson there too in balance and self-care. I just keep forgetting it when I'm doing things I really love. Oops, my bad, as they say.
I think about the numerous times that I've learned lessons, and then life goes along really jolly because I've learned the lesson. And then all of a sudden there's a little tap on the shoulder. And if I don't listen to the tap on the shoulder, it becomes something else, a little bit louder. And what I find fascinating is when I stop and think about it, I go, I knew that at some level. I knew that. And I know Witchy's just written a marvelous journal. And one of my favorite things about journaling that I've shared on the show before is I like to write on the right-hand side of the page and leave the left-hand side blank. Or sometimes when I get wonderful picture book kind of journals, like Witchy's new one, is write a little bit and save some blank space, because I love to go back and write what's changed at some point in time, reread it. Maybe it is that I was doing really good on my nutrition or whatever it was, and the little tips that I write myself. So if I get that point down the road where, oops, I did it again, I can go back and go, what was I doing that was so successful? Oh, now I remember what was so successful. Okay. I think I'm going to remember Liberty, and I don't. I never do. I think I'm going to remember, and I shouldn't say this, I don't. That's a negative, isn't it? We just talked about not using negatives. I think I'm going to remember. I hope to remember. And then I love having the journal to be able to just to make sure that I remembered it correctly.
That's a great idea to write just on one half of the page and go back and that's genius. I've never heard of that. What a good idea.
I wish I could take credit for it. My longtime mentor taught me that, so I can't take credit for it, but it is really helpful to be able to go back and write what's changed, positive or negative. It's fascinating to me because it puts everything into perspective. It's been a number of years since my diagnosis, and there's certain parts of it that I'll never forget. They were very poignant in my mind and memory. But then other parts the way I think, the ups and downs and waves and things like that. And I can see the big part for me is when I'm rereading, I go, oh, this too shall pass. This too will change. Nothing stays static. So that's always helpful to have that. But you made this one. Tell us the title. I love the title. You sent me a copy of the journal the other day, and I fell in love with the title. So I do want to have time to talk about Witchy's journal and also your YouTube channel.
Thank you. It isn't exactly a journal. It's Witchy's 5 steps for being happy, even when your spells go wonky and you crash your broom into a tree. And she, in her 5 separate steps, is literally talking about if you have had your spells go wonky and you crashed into a tree, here's what you do. And so she starts off by saying about peel yourself out of the tree, check for splinters, apologize to the tree because it was just standing there minding its own business till you slammed into it. And then she says, for your broom, if you can salvage it, then do that. It'd be great. But if there's too much damage or it just isn't going to work anymore, it's time to say goodbye and send it off to the magical forest for retired brooms and let it go. And then for yourself, check for damage. And so there's this underlying message through all 5 steps. But she is literally talking about if you crash your broom into a tree. But it's really about things that you can do in your life. They're very simple, but they really help with focusing on major areas that could be an issue and how to look at them in a way that is palatable and fun. And it's on the lighter side, but there's deep meaning and can really be beneficial. And then she gives you some room to write after each step. She gives you specific directions and space to write your answers. And of course, you can always more in another journal.
That's why I guess I called it a journal. I apologize. That wasn't quite, that isn't the true definition of a journal, but I like it when people ask you questions, little sparks to get your thoughts going on ways to integrate it into your own life. And I know it's be available shortly at the beginning of the new year.
Actually will be available on her Ko-fi page, and it's also available on her Patreon page.
We're just about out of time. You're back on YouTube, which bravo. I love seeing that, and I've been enjoying them. And like I said, the one that I was really intrigued by was, it's been 1 year. What have I learned? I probably haven't asked all the questions that I learned from watching your video, but any final thoughts on the things you'd like to share about recovery?
I think the biggest point to remember, and this is something that's been important to me throughout my life, is to keep hope, to always have hope, to always be looking at where you want to be. It's like when you're driving and they always say, when you start to skid, don't steer into the skid, but steer into where you want to go. Keep your eyes on the road and turn the wheel to where you want to go, not into the direction of the skid. And it's like that when you're going through something that's really difficult. And that's one of the things that Witchy's all about. She's about keeping your eye on where you want to be and in a hopeful way, because that's what keeps us positive. That's what keeps us trying to get better. That's what allows us to have the energy to do the exercises we need to do, or to do the self-care we need to do, or just to be patient with ourselves. As soon as you give up hope, well, it's like the light goes out. But hope is what keeps us motivated and positive and trusting that things are going to get better. So just keep your eye on the vision for where you want to be, whatever it is you're going through, whether it's a physical challenge or an emotional thing or some kind of big life change. Just have a vision for the future that you want to create or how you want to feel, and use that to get through those difficult moments, and just know that you'll get there. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And as long as you're just keeping your vision on where you want to be, your feet will follow. It's like that saying about the journey of 1,000 steps begins with 1 step, or whatever that is. I think it's not exactly that, but that idea. It's, you have to just start with where you are now, but look where you want to be. Never mind those 1,000 steps or whatever amount it takes to get there. Just one foot in front of the other. Keep your eye on it. Don't swerve into the skid.
Don't swerve into the skid. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Liberty, for being on our show. Everyone, you can find her over at libertyforrest.com and check out our YouTube channel. It's called @Liberty Forrest, 2 R's in the middle there of her last name. as well as check her out over at Medium, too. She's got some amazing articles that she's written over on Medium as well. So multi-talented, everyone. Liberty Forrest, my dear friend, thank you for joining us and sharing your experience of your year of recovery and some of the lessons you learned. I love that. Don't swerve into this kid. And also the idea of you point your eyes in the direction you want to go and your feet will follow. That's very true too.
How it works. That is how it works.
That is how it works. Absolutely. And always keeping a positive frame of mind. For me, it wasn't always easy, but I found that was part of being able to get to where I am now. And knowing that I also learned one little slip back isn't all the way back to the bottom. It might be a setback, but I think about when I first started on my healing journey from the autoimmune condition, I was way down at the bottom, and occasionally I've had to take a step backwards, but I'm not back at the bottom anymore. It was just a tiny little step backwards.
I had that experience too, and that's common with CRPS especially, and I would take 2 baby steps forward and be so excited, and then it would be like 3 giant leaps backward, and that was really discouraging. But it's all right then. Just keep going and find those baby steps again, and then you get there. But you just have to keep that faith, keep trusting that you will get there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Liberty. Everyone, join us at YouTube if you haven't been over there. It's Understanding Autoimmune. We'd love to have you there on YouTube. We're trying to grow the subscribership there too, so we can get a nice big audience and people learning about you are not your diagnosis and you are not alone. So everyone, have a great week, whatever your adventures, and join me next week for another brand new episode. Enjoy.
The information provided on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, including the websites understandingautoimmune.com and lifeinterruptedradio.com, plus social media, is for educational purposes only. What you read, hear, and see on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, and its websites, and other media outlets is based on experience only. The information should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes.
For the next few minutes, we'll be providing a guided meditation. Meditation is a positive way to help reset your day and does require specific, targeted attention and focus. Please do not drive or operate machinery during this time. As we say here, drive when you drive and meditate when you meditate.
In the next few moments, take a nice, deep breath. Oh, and let it out with a sigh. Shake out your fingers, and your arms, and your shoulders. And keep breathing, enjoying that breath as you kind of shake it all out. Let it go. Just look around a little bit right now, wherever you are. Notice what you're grateful for. Could be anything. Could even be the color of the sky today, the sweet smell of the flowers, the breeze on your face, the people you're with, the place you're at. Could be anything and everything. Wow. Take stock of a few things maybe that you don't see right now, but you're grateful for. Maybe it's somebody in your life that isn't here with you now. Some place. That's right. Shake everything out and just take stock of that gratitude list that we're building. That's right. Just shake it out. Shake everything out and continue to add to that gratitude list that you're building. That's right. Wow. Quite a list. That's right. What are you grateful for about yourself? Add that to this growing gratitude list. Don't be shy. Don't be humble. Come on.
Take a moment right now, starting at the top of that list. Remember, those were the things that you saw right there near you. And count them down, anchoring each one with a beautiful breath. Number 1. Number 2. Continue on down your list of the things that are right there with you. Anchoring each one with a breath and let it out with a sigh. Allowing enough time to get through the whole list right now. Now start with the list for yourself. Begin to list those things you're grateful for about yourself and anchor each one with a nice, deep breath. Just right. That's right. Even being grateful for this moment right here, right now, feeling every bit of you alive and well, feeling healing and soothing and calming energy just tingle throughout you. Getting stronger with each breath as your gratitude begins to grow. Wow, what a list. What a lucky person. Oh, that's right. Wow. And coming right back now, full of energy, happy to be here, and feeling grateful. Oh, wow. Welcome back. Go in gratitude and enjoy your day.